All right, you are tuned into KGLR Greenlight Radio. I am here with Larry Carlton, famous guitarist, jazz musician, all-around producer. Thank you, Larry, for joining us today.
Yeah, glad to be with you.
We're honored to be able to talk with a decorated veteran of the music industry. We're actually pretty new to a lot of interviews these days, and this is an honor for us, so thank you again.
Thank you.
Now, I could sit here and name a lot of the artists you've worked with, but some that stick out of my head, for me personally, are Sammy Davis Jr., Jerry Garcia, and Quincy Jones. But who are some of the more memorable or profound artists you've worked with, in your mind?
Yeah, Rocky, my studio career was basically back in the 70s and early 80s. But there were some highlights, especially for me. The Steely Dan albums that I did, the Royal Scam in Asia with them. I did the Night Fly with Donald Fagen. And Joni Mitchell's albums, I did 4 of those albums in the 70s, Court and Spark, Hejira, Hissing of Summer Lawns. And I actually played on one cut on Off the Wall that Quincy Jones produced for Michael Jackson. And back in the 70s, like I say, I was busy, so I never knew from session to session who I was going to be playing for, and all of a sudden I would show up and it would be songs for Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, I read actually in Wikipedia, somewhere between the 70s and early 80s, it says on there that you were doing 500 recordings a year at one point. Is that true?
It is. The way the recording schedules worked back then, sessions were called as 3-hour blocks. So I would do 3 or 4 of those 3-hour sessions a day. So that would average between 15 and 20 sessions a week for different artists.
And this was just laying down guitar tracks for different artists that were already written out and everything, or?
Well, a lot of them were arranged. It would be the rhythm section come in, or sometimes it would be the full band there with the singer. And there would be charts, and sometimes just chord charts. A lot of my time, they wanted me just to play guitar fills, whatever I felt, while everybody else was playing some written parts.
Right. I noticed you also have written a fair amount of TV theme songs out there.
Actually, I personally have only written one, and that's the theme for that television show called Who's the Boss?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's still running in syndication all around the world. And then I was a composer and did the score for the movie Against All Odds.
Nice.
The co-composer on that was Michel Colombier. We did it together. And we were nominated for a Grammy for that also.
Nice. Now, you grew up in Torrance, California, correct?
That's right.
Nice. Tell us what it's like growing up. That's basically a suburb of L.A., is that correct?
That's correct, just south of Los Angeles, and it was just a normal neighborhood, kids riding bikes, doing the normal, playing baseball, and junior high school was a 4-minute walk from our house, so it was just brought up in the suburbs.
Nice. Now, did you start your career there?
I actually started taking guitar lessons when I was 6, and then obviously lived in the suburbs there, and I was doing talent shows as a young guitar player, and then I started playing in supper clubs and at parties. By the time I was 14 years old, I was working weekends with older musicians, so I've always been a guitar player.
Now, on a change of subject, I read in the late 80s after you had opened your own studio, what was that, 335?
Yeah, I had room 335.
335, yeah, okay.
That was actually in the late 70s I opened that.
Okay. Well, I had read in the late 80s you were the victim of random gun violence.
That's right. I had a home in the Hollywood Hills, and my studio was in the basement of that home. And one day I was in the front office part, and we had the door ajar so the fresh air could come in, and I saw a couple of kids, looked to be about 14 years old. Looked like they were jogging with their dog, so I was going to go close the door so their dog wouldn't come in our office. And when I got to the door, one of the kids pulled a gun from behind his back and shot me, and then they ran off. So, I had about nine months of rehabilitation, and it was not a fun time, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's been, 22 years now, so very thankful to be here.
I heard you started a foundation based around that.
We did, and we ran that for almost 3 years. It was called HIP, Helping Innocent People. See, I was the innocent victim of a violent crime. And so we did benefit concerts and made huge donations when we started it. But after about 3 years, we realized to continue this nonprofit at the level it was functioning was just going to take too much time away from what I really do, which is make music.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.